Good evening and a very happy Diwali to all of you. Thanks for joining us here on the news at 6. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. President Pranab Mukherjee, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari and Prime Minister Narendra Modi greet the nation on Diwali. Days after Chota Rajan is deported from Indonesia, Bangladesh hands over jailed Alpha leader Anup Chetia to India. India successfully launches the GSAT-15 from French Guiana satellite to provide continuity of services to Indian users in the Q-band. And BJP veterans' criticism of leadership intensifies the debates over Bihar election debacle within the party. More party leaders rally around the top brass. Well, that's right. A day after the four BJP veterans led by LK Advani issued a statement demanding accountability for the Bihar electoral drought, more BJP ministers have defended the top leadership. They say that they were only following the precedent of collective responsibility for such failures.
BJP leaders have reacted to the criticism by party veterans for the Bihar poll debacle. Senior leader Ram Madhav said the party will discuss the points raised by them.
हमारे चार मार्गदर्शक मंडल के वरिष्ठ नेताओं का जो विचार कल सुनने को आया, ध्यान में आया था, उसका जो मुख्य थ्रस्ट है कि बिहार के हार का सही विश्लेषण किया जाए, उसके क्या कारण है, उसकी जांच पड़ताल ठीक ढंग से हो। हम इस सुझाव को हृदय से स्वीकार करते हैं। वह प्रक्रिया प्रारंभ हो गई है, हमारे पार्टी के लीडरशिप के लेवल पे हुई है, बाद में पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड के लेवल पर हुई है, आगे भी ये प्रक्रिया चलेगी और उसमें स्वयं इन सीनियर नेताओं से भी विचार विमर्श किया जाएगा।
On Tuesday, Advani, Murli Manohar Joshi, Yashwant Sinha and Shanda Kumar issued a statement claiming the party had not learned its lessons from its defeat in the Delhi Assembly elections. They also said the party leadership was shrugging off responsibility. To this, BJP ministers Rajnath Singh, Nitin Gadkari and Venkaiah Naidu issued a counter statement claiming that former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Lal Krishna Advani had set the precedent for collective responsibility.
जब विजय होता है तो सभी का होता है और हार होती है तो सभी की होती है। जब चार स्टेट हमने एक समय गवा दिए थे, तब भी हमने किसी एक व्यक्ति को उसके लिए जिम्मेदार नहीं माना था और इसलिए प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और अमित शाह हमारे अध्यक्ष, इनको इसके लिए जिम्मेदार मानना उचित नहीं होगा। ये हार है तो पार्टी की है, सबकी, हम सबकी है। हम अपनी और ताकत बढ़ाने की कोशिश करेंगे।
Opposition parties did not lose the opportunity to take a dig at BJP.
Before the results came, I said that after the results will come out, the brain dead will get brain alive and they'll come out from their cold storage and they'll get heated and charged up. And exactly that has happened. Now this heat is going to make नरेंद्र मोदी एंड अमित शाह कोल्ड।
देखिए, जब उनको मार्गदर्शक बनाया गया था, उसमें उनको एक जगह दी गई थी, तो उसकी तो कोई भूमिका रही नहीं। जब से नरेंद्र मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री बने और अमित शाह भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अध्यक्ष बने, सारे सीनियर लोगों को एक जगह इकट्ठा कर दिया गया। अगर उनसे बीच में बातचीत होती रहती, संवाद चलता रहता, तो शायद ये नौबत नहीं आती, क्योंकि उनका एक लंबा अनुभव था। नरेंद्र मोदी जी हो या अमित शाह जी हो, राष्ट्रीय राजनीति से बहुत वाकिफ नहीं थे वो लोग।
I think this was already simmering within the BJP because the nature of collective has been destroyed in the BJP. They have been our opponents. We have been opposing even Advani's politics or Joshi's politics. But the fact is, even when we opposed, we always knew that they believe in the collective decision making. Under Amit Shah ji and Modi ji in particular, the message has gone that this is highly individual centered party. Almost nobody has any role to play. I have myself seen during the Bihar election. So I think what they have said was already there in the minds of several BJP leaders.
The debate over the BJP leadership's role is only expected to intensify further in the run-up to the winter session of Parliament. And regardless of any likely changes it triggers within the party, it's expected to strengthen the opposition's attack on the party. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Bangladesh has handed over Anup Chetia, leader of the banned Assamese outfit, the United Liberation Front of Ahom, to India. The decision was reportedly taken after the intervention of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the active involvement of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Here's a report.
Wanted for murder, abductions and extortion in India, Ulfa leader Anup Chetia was brought to India for the first time since his arrest by the Bangladesh police in 1997.
This is a major breakthrough, and the Bangladesh government has decided to hand over, and this will lead to cracking of many cases. I would like to extend gratitude to the government of Bangladesh and the Prime Minister for finally heeding to our demand. And Anup Chetia was wanted for a long time, and he's a senior leader of the Ulfa. And with the handing over of Anup Chetia, we will be in a position to link in many cases and to crack some of the important cases which the investigation is going on.
A founding member and General Secretary of the Ulfa, Chetia's return comes days after the deportation of underworld don Chota Rajan, one of India's most wanted criminals. He had sought political asylum in Bangladesh thrice in 2005, 8 and 11.
It's a very significant development, because a man was wanted for over 17 years, wanted in many cases of all types, extortion, terrorism, everything, and he had been away. We knew where he was, and the request has been made again and again by the government of India to Bangladesh government. For some reason or other, we did not succeed. Now, within 15 days of the arrest of Chota Rajan, another important wanted man has been handed over to us.
Chetia served 7 years in jail for cross-border intrusion, carrying fake passports and illegally keeping foreign currencies. The Bangladesh High Court asked the government in custody until his asylum petition was decided. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
India's latest communication satellite, GSAT-15, was successfully launched in the early hours today from the spaceport of Kourou in French Guiana. GSAT-15 was launched by using one of the world's largest rockets, the Ariane 5. Costing 278 crores, the satellite weighs 3,164 kilograms. It carries a...
Visiting United Kingdom for the first time. Starting Wednesday, he will be in UK for the next 3 days, during which he will hold bilateral talks with the leadership, including Prime Minister David Cameron. Issues like security, anti-terror campaign are some of the key agendas on PM's list to do. An estimated $15 billion trade and investment deals are expected from Modi's UK visit.
There would be a lot of political and security related discussions both on global and regional issues.
Before his visit, Modi contributed an article on the Sunday Times about his expectations from the visit. He pinned hope for more foreign investments from UK to boost economy. Food security, climate change are some of the other issues on which he hopes to have cooperation from UK. The Prime Minister will meet the Queen and also attend a grand reception at the iconic Wembley Stadium on the last day of his visit. He is also scheduled to address the Indian diaspora in an event described as Olympic style. However, opposition parties have come out slamming PM's frequent visits abroad.
Nothing comes out of these visits except a bit of chest thumping here and there. And considering that people of India are rejecting him, so maybe his hunger for crowds abroad is what takes him out of the country ever so often.
अब बिहार में और देश में तो उनके भ्रमण के लिए कुछ कम ही जगह बची हैं। अब वो विदेश में रह करके NRI प्रधानमंत्री का टैग लिए घूमते रहें, यही उनके लिए अच्छा है।
Fresh from the poll defeat in Bihar, Modi has to now assure Britain that opposition will not stall key reforms and that business will not be hampered. Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister to visit UK in a decade. UK had boycotted Modi for 10 years after the 2002 riots when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, protests continued on Wednesday as well on the Karnataka government's decision to celebrate Tipu Sultan's birth anniversary. A VHP activist, remember, was killed in the clashes yesterday that broke out. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and leaders from other political parties condemned the incident and accused the BJP of trying to disturb communal harmony.
This is because of this, for trying to disturb the communal harmony, and they have called the Bandh today in Kodagu. They should not have. We are celebrating, the government is celebrating Tipu Jayanti. Why they have called the Bandh?
It is unfortunate that a man
has been killed. It's regrettable. But at the same time, I totally condemn the protest against the Tipu Sultan centenary celebration. If we cannot celebrate the centenary of Tipu Sultan, then whose centenary celebration in this country, secular country, can be celebrated?
भारतीय जनता पार्टी अपनी गलतियों से सबक हासिल नहीं कर रही है। वो इसी तरीके के मुद्दे देश के अंदर उठाना चाहती है। टीपू सुल्तान ने अपनी जिंदगी अंग्रेज से लड़ते लड़ते निछावर कर दी। शहीद हो गए टीपू सुल्तान, लड़ाई लड़ते लड़ते। आज टीपू सुल्तान को भी मौजूदा सरकार के लोग देश विद्रोही बता रहे हैं।
And now let's get you some more updates from across the country and nationwide. Kerala Chief Minister Oommen Chandy met KM Mani, who resigned as Finance Minister of the state yesterday over the bar bribery case. Mani is alleged to have taken a bribe for opening closed-down bars from rich bar owners. The High Court had on Monday asked for a further probe in the case against him. The Kerala cabinet met today for the first time without Mani's presence. The FBI has ruled out Sunanda Pushkar's death by polonium or any other radioactive substance. Sunanda Pushkar, wife of Congress leader Shashi Tharoor, died in a hotel in Delhi last year. Delhi police had claimed that Pushkar was poisoned. The samples were sent to the FBI in Washington since the poison could not be detected in Indian labs. The Amritsar police on Tuesday night arrested Shiromani Akali Dal chief Simranjit Singh Mann and United Akali Dal president Mohkam Singh. The duo were the organizers of Sarbat Khalsa, held yesterday, where 4 of the 5 Akal Takht Jathedars were removed. The police called the arrest preventive custody since the organizers had reportedly announced to make an address at Akal Takht today, which could have been a threat to law and order. Now, top think tanks of the Indian Air Force met in New Delhi this week to discuss strategic challenges, particularly in Asia and the Asia-Pacific regions. The challenges remain an assertive China and an intrusive Pakistan.
The Indian Air Force is racing against time to catch up with the air power of China and Pakistan. But its task has become more complex, given the increasing proximity between its two hostile neighbors.
You know, when you talk of aerospace power, modern day war cannot be fought without aerospace power, whether over the land, over the sea, in the air. Okay. So actually that is why aerospace becomes the dominant factor in India's security challenges, whether they are on the land here, on the boundary issues, or the larger strategic boundaries of India.
China is investing heavily in aerospace power. At the same, it's intensifying claims on international waters, island territories and airspace over South China Sea and East China Sea. Pakistan, on the other hand, has tasted defeat on the battlefield against India more than once. Together, they make formidable foes. But experts feel a two-front war is a far-fetched possibility.
In case we are having a full-fledged war with Pakistan, again, it is unlikely, but a full-fledged war with Pakistan, then China may just like to needle us on the borders so that our attention is diverted also to that side. But two-front war as such, a full-blown war, no, I don't think it is possible.
Critical shortages of both planes and pilots have been debated intensely over the past few years. This April, the 35-member Standing Committee on Defence noted that even the slight edge over rival neighbours would be lost if complacency remains. It also noted that the 35 active fighter squadrons at present are much less than the sanctioned strength of 42. Palak Sharma's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Some international news, and Moscow is likely to change its position on the survival of the Assad regime in Syria. The Russian government has released a document calling for a reform process in war-stricken Syria that could see Assad out of power. Russia wants to see an agreement on a list of terrorist groups operating in Syria.
In a significant shift, Russia is proposing a 7-point peace plan for Syria, surprisingly calling for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to leave power. The proposal suggests a constitutional reform process lasting 18 months to be followed by presidential elections. The document doesn't say if Syrian President Bashar al-Assad should remain in power during the transition.
И мы, конечно же, хотим, чтобы на этой встрече был сделан шаг вперед, желательно 2 шага вперед, по реализации того, о чем договорились 30 октября и что отражено в соответствующем заявлении.
The Russian document circulated at the United Nations comes ahead of the next international negotiations in Geneva beginning on Saturday. Putin said the priority should be to establish which Syrian opposition groups are to be regarded as partners.
Имею в виду прежде всего, во-первых, необходимость договориться о списке террористических организаций, чтобы ни у кого не возникало сомнений, колебаний в том, что касается ориентировки, ориентации той или иной вооруженной группы.
In one of the most high-profile victory for the Syrian army since the Russian air campaign was launched against the Islamic State, the Syrian army fought its way to secure the Qureys air base in Aleppo. They freed the military personnel after a nearly 2-year siege by the insurgents. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Within a quick break here, up next we're taking you through how India is celebrating the festival of lights.
Topics.
If you can facilitate the opening up and the expansion of the international border trade, you can add to the economy.
370 धारा जो है वो जम्मू कश्मीर को मुल्क के साथ जोड़े रखती है.
Candid confessions.
The Congress has not been able to communicate.
We have to revive our links with the masses.
World-class healthcare is available to only a handful of people in this country.
Causing controversies.
A lot of leaders today think that they rule by divine right.
Now, media has become manageable.
Watch RSTV Engage personalities to the point. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Thursday, 1:30 and 5:30 p.m.
Hello, I am Sean Russell.
I'm Tracy Shinshi and you're watching News Tonight. With the team of our dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar, Vishal Dahiya,
Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wished the nation and those living abroad on the occasion of Diwali, the festival of lights. He, in fact, celebrated the festival with soldiers for the 2nd year in a row. Modi visited the Dogra War Memorial in Khasa in Amritsar and placed a wreath at the venue of one of the toughest battles won by Indian forces on the 22nd of September 1965. Addressing the troops, Modi said that he was happy to get a chance to celebrate Diwali with them. He also said that it is because of their dedication that the whole world looked at India with respect. Last year, Modi had visited troops at the Siachen Glacier. Meanwhile, US President Barack Obama had called up Modi to greet him on Diwali on Tuesday. Prime Minister Modi had tweeted the greetings shared between the two leaders. Adding to the list was also UK Prime Minister David Cameron greeting the Indian diaspora and lauding the community for their incredible contribution. President Pranab Mukherjee and Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari also greeted people on the eve of the festival and urged them to celebrate in a pollution-free manner. And guess what? Chinese crackers and products are losing their charm. And not only that, this Diwali, consumers, at least in Delhi, are expressing their preference for Indian crackers and traditional Indian decorative items compared to their low-quality Chinese counterparts.
Pushed out of market by Chinese products, Indian crackers and decorative items are slowly making a comeback. And And while some shopkeepers defy the ban and still sell the Chinese varieties, many feel Indian products are better in quality and more in demand.
चाइनीज मिल रहा है लेकिन हमें इतनी आसानी से नहीं मिल पा रहा। अगर हम जाते हैं पूछते हैं तो वो मना कर देते हैं कि अभी है नहीं, मार्केट में है नहीं।
यस, चाइनीज भी मांगते हैं लेकिन मोस्टली ज्यादा वैल्यू इसी की होती है हमारे में, क्योंकि ये बजट में भी रहता है और ठीक भी रहता है।
There are quite a few reasons for the drop in sales of Chinese crackers. For one, they contain potassium chlorate that is banned in India. They are also unsafe and cause more pollution.
No, I don't buy firecrackers because I think pollution's increasing day by day, and we have to celebrate with watching movies and celebrate with cousins, and that's all.
मार्केट में जो हमारे सजावट के सामान हैं, चाइनीज ज्यादा हैं, इंडियंस कम हैं, लेकिन बहुत कम लोग हैं कि जो इंडियंस प्रोडक्ट को ही लाइक करते हैं। चाइनीज प्रोडक्ट को सस्ते होने की वजह से लोग ज्यादा खरीद रहे हैं।
Not only the Chinese varieties, there is a massive drop in the sale of firecrackers. More people want an environment-friendly and noise-free Diwali, which shopkeepers say is the main reason behind the drop in sales.
Pollution levels are at a rise across the country. This Diwali, let's do our bit to control the rising pollution. Have a safe and environment-friendly Diwali. With cameraman Manoj, Dipali Pandit for Rajya Sabha Television.
In fact, some reports claiming that the sale of crackers has actually gone down by 70%. More people, of course, going green and being innovative. Here's how Delhiites are celebrating the Festival of Lights.
The Diwali Mela itself a modern concept, bringing together all the different colors of the festival under a single symbolic umbrella. The annual Diwali Mela, small or big, is an occasion to bond with our cultural roots, acquaint children with the wealth of India's cultural heritage, while enjoying the commercial delights of modern entertainment.
दिवाली हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रखता है और दिवाली हमारे जीवन में उजाला फैलाता है। दिवाली में हम सभी बच्चे बूढ़े सब एक होकर के भाईचारा भी निभाते हैं और एक दूसरे के गले लगकर सबको मिठाइयाँ, सारे गिफ्ट वगैरह हम बांटते हैं। इसलिए दिवाली तो हमें बहुत बहुत पसंद है।
Diwali or Deepavali literally means a row of earthen lamps. Light and prosperity and joy are the festival's essential themes. And lighting the diya has taken on many contemporary forms. Here's a unique one using bottles. Bottles of liquor or ketchup or other flowers are recycled to give rise to these stunning masterpieces.
बस यूं ही हम रोडों पे चलते रहते हैं तो बोतलें इधर उधर पड़ी रहती है, तो हमने सोचा कि क्यों ना इसको उठा के कुछ नया करें। उस वेस्ट बोतल को हमने लेके ये यूज किया है।
Delhi Heart seems to be the heart for the shopping lovers, be it the usual times or the festive season. So this year again it is back with its annual Diwali Mela, the Deep Utsav, which offers a wide variety of fashion, the rich culture, the beautiful lights and the stunning lamps. That adds